legalized drugs.
Something happened in this country in 1915 called the Harrison Narcotics Act. And in 1916 it was followed by something else called the Prescription Drug Program. And that fundamentally changed the relationship between doctors and patients. And the reason I say that is this. You're all listening to me, I'm just giving my point of view on this, right? If when you go to leave this room, I'm standing at the door and I tell you, you can't leave here unless I tell you you can, has that changed our relationship? Prior to 1916, doctors were medical advisors to their patients. After 1916, they were permission givers to their patients. That's when they got control of the pharmacy. And nobody that has control of anything likes to give it up. See, the reason why so many of us cops want to give it up is because we don't have any control over it. We're just bank dancing around the edges. The doctors have a vested interest in keeping it the way it is, and I understand their position. The problem is we have to deal with this as a healthcare issue. And that means that we're going to have to accept the reality of addiction. We do, as I mentioned before, with alcoholics. We don't bother you if you're an alcoholic. We make sure that you got a safe drug that you're taking and stuff like that. Give you a safe place to buy it in. But then if you want to destroy your life, destroy your life. That's your business. Let me give you an example about the transition on that. And I know it's quitting time here, but I started on the police department in February of 1969. I made my first DWI arrest in the summer of 1970, almost a year and a half after I came on the job. I bet you there ain't a cop out there today that doesn't make his first DWI arrest the first week he's on the road. Today. I brought that guy in cuffs into the station. And I immediately started taking heat from my senior officers, who said things to me like, "Hey, you drink too, don't you? What are you bothering that poor slob for?" Okay, that was the attitude in police work. And then a little organization formed up in the late 70s, and they were very angry. In fact, they were so angry they called themselves MAD. And they were Mothers Against Drunk Driving. And if you remember when that started, the first group that they went after was us, law enforcement. And they said, "Do your job." Now the reason I'm giving you all this is this. We legalized alcohol in '33, and we went on almost a 50-year bender pretending we didn't have an alcohol problem in this society. Any of you people here watch the Mad Men on television? Anybody? Every time they go to an office, somebody's giving them a drink, that's how it was in the 50s and the 60s. Okay? We changed that drastically now by holding people responsible for their actions, not by banning anything, but by holding people. I don't want us to legalize drugs and then go on a 50-year bender pretending we don't have a drug problem. We have to legalize drugs, and then we have to knuckle right down and start dealing with the drug problem. And fundamentally it is, as the drug czar said, a healthcare and education position. And one real quick thing, and I know I'm over. Here's what LEAP has changed in the dynamic of this discussion since we were formed in 2002. Prior to 2002, if you were going to have a debate in your community about drug policy, what you would do is you would get the local prosecutor or the local judge or the local narc to be at one podium to defend the policy. And then over at the other podium, you'd put the crazy hippie who said, "Hey man, drugs are cool, everybody ought to party." Now, it's not hard to figure out who's going to win that debate. Let me tell you how that dynamic has changed, thanks to LEAP. Let's say you're going to put the primary spokesman for our current drug policy at the one podium, the drug czar, a guy by the name of Kulikowski. All right? You know who we're going to put at the other podium? Wait a minute. Kulikowski, before he was drug czar, was chief of police of Seattle, Washington. And then he became drug czar. You know who we're going to put at the other podium? A guy by the name of Norm Stamper. And Norm Stamper retired as chief of police of Seattle, Washington, when Kulikowski took the job. So now it's which chief of police you're going to listen to, not are you going to listen to the crazy hippie or are you going to listen to the drug czar. All right? That's the difference we're bringing to it. We are not condoners. We know the problems that drugs cause in our society. We understand it better than you do. We lived it. When the problems were going down, we were there. We know, but we also know that the prohibition is causing more problems in our society than the drugs do. And that's why that's, I guess.